All right, guys, we are here. We are live with you here on a Sunday night. We made it through the week, and we have so much to get to. My name is Chris. This is Scott. We are your hosts for the Action Lab. We hope you had a fantastic week. It's been a while since we've seen you. It's been since Friday, since I've seen you, and then it's been since Wednesday since Scott last saw you. So, we've had a lot going on, and we've just been trying to keep tabs on everything so we can have a lot to talk about tonight. Just a couple quick little updates here. We are not on Facebook. We're still having some technical difficulties here and there. We're trying to get some of that figured out. So bear with us as we go through some of those. So we're going to be live currently, multi-streaming on YouTube, on our Action Lab YouTube channel, and then also our just regular Twitch stream. Facebook is in, I believe, the description, and I believe we're linked in a couple spots. So make sure you're going and finding Action Lab on Facebook. That's where we're going to be streaming moving forward from here on out. But just wanted to get that out there in front of you guys so that you knew what was happening with the Facebook. So, we have a lot of great viewers on Facebook, a lot of people chiming in all the time, and I feel really bad that we're not able to get them going on these last couple streams, but I should be good to go for our Wednesday stream. But thank all you guys for whoever's joining us on any other platform. We appreciate you popping into the lab and spending some time here with us on your Sunday night. Scotty, we have a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna dive in. We started kind of last week. Our Sunday focus is going to be a lot more local Denver sports, since we're both here in the Denver metro area, focusing on the pro and college aspects here. So we get a lot of fun week. Had a fun week with the Nuggets, Avs, Rockies just got with their first spring training game, and of course the NFL with the Broncos. That's a year-round storyline all the time. So everyone had a good weekend. Man, it's gonna be like the whole next week. It's gonna be 50s, like in Denver.
Whew, it's gonna
Even
be nice.
touching maybe 60. I might be a lot more tan the next time you guys see me. I don't know.
You're gonna be laying out in your backyard, getting a tan.
Yeah, there's from like I believe it's like 12 to 2 maybe is what I call OBT. It's optimal bronzing time.
Oh man, bring in the OBTs.
Yeah, and I do it in the privacy of my backyard because no one else wants to see that. But I'm just kidding. I don't actually do that at all. But I used to back in college. We had some optimal bronzing times.
It's kind of
way back in the day.
It's a different version from GTL, the Gym Tan Laundry, right?
Yeah, this was pre Gym Tan Laundry. No one knew about that at that
time. So we I usually do this in the front yard, in my front driveway. So that's kind of the way I do. I just let it all hang out for everyone to see. It's all good.
I feel like the HOAs had to come to your home a few times and tell you to stop doing that.
We've had some letters, yes. But yeah, no, it's gonna be fantastic weather here. Lot to look forward to. I feel like that spring is slowly coming in, and it's weird here in Colorado. The spring, it means more snow, but it also means we have like more of those like mid 50 degree days too, to like balance out all the snow that we get. So it's like perfect. But yes, so that'll be nice to look forward to. But I will say, we have a little bit of an update for you guys. So we have good news and bad news. One, on our previous stream, on our last Wednesday stream, we just found out some breaking news that there were some NBA TopShot packs that were going to be dropped the next day, and we were like, hey, if we're going to be able to get a hold of those, we are going to open those live on stream for all of you guys to see. And here's the thing. The good news is, the bad news. Let's start with the bad news, Scotty. The bad news is we didn't get packs because there were 11,000 packs available, and there were close to just under 200,000 people in line to get those packs. So, for all you TopShot newbies that don't really know what this is, it's a new craze that's just sweeping the country, I mean, there's people in other countries actually that I've seen in the Discord server that have been trying to get in on this as well from I think Australia. I saw some guys from Australia in there. I saw some guys from Europe in there. It's a big deal. So, as far as trying to get these digital moments that, people are trading and buying on the marketplace, and there's all this value associated with it. We didn't get a pack. I think the highest number I got was, I think, in the 50,000s. And I had, it just wasn't going to be any good. Scotty, you didn't really come close either.
I think I was about 70,000 short of getting a pack. So I was right there. Like you I think texted like, it's over. We didn't get a pack. And I'm like, there's still 15 packs left, and I'm at like 70,000. So I'm not ruling it out yet. You never know. But
So
no.
we won't be opening packs, I'm sorry to say, on this stream. However, we did get there this past weekend. They released a pre-order where everybody who got in line for a 2-hour period was able to pre-order packs. So we did get packs. We will potentially be putting those on once we receive those. So how this works is the pre-order. They're going to be sending them at some point in the future once they have all of them organized. And then from there, we will go in and we will try to see if we can get some pack openings live on stream for you guys so that you guys can understand, hey, what is this, first of all? And second of all, if we get something crazy, it'll be really fun to, experience it live with all of you guys. Scotty's looking for that number 1 Zion, or
number 1 Zion, number 23 LeBron, anything like that.
And what's crazy about that is, it only takes just the one moment. You get lucky on one moment, and you could sell that thing for a boatload. So it'll be fun. Who knows what we'll come across, but it'll be fun once we get to open those with all of you guys live on stream.
Yeah, so, I haven't opened a pack in a while. It's been a while. I haven't been hot with getting a pack, so it'll be fun to open one. Like the first time I opened a pack, I didn't even know. Like, I was just kind of like, "What is this?" And that's the only time I opened a pack. It was one pack ever. So this will be fun when I get that number 23 LeBron, and I just run in circles around here for a little bit.
Yeah. We'll take shots on stream. We'll hang out. We'll get crazy with it because it's kind of like getting, if you ever collected any basketball cards or any football cards or anything like that, and you just open up just by random choice, or even if you're like, some of those Gen Zers and they're just like opening up the Pokemon card packs and you get that Charizard, that number 1 Charizard or whatever, and it's like, I don't even know if they number those anymore.
You've lost me. I don't.
I don't. I
mean, I know what Pokemon is. I assume Charizard is the main character.
He's a big boy. I used to collect Pokemon cards. They were fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then my mom sold them in a garage sale, and all that value went out the window. So there goes that.
And yet you still talk to your mom. Good for you.
I'm not happy about it. I can't watch anything on the internet that involves Pokemon cards because I'm still bitter. And I've forgiven her. I have. I just can't watch anything. It's like when your team loses a big game and you're just like, you just don't want to watch ESPN for like the next 3 or 4 days or months or whatever. When the Broncos lost that Super Bowl or when your Chiefs lost, you didn't want to watch any highlights or any news coverage for like 3 or 4 days after that, right?
Yeah, no, I specifically remember growing up with NFL primetime.
Yeah.
And it was Chris Berman and Tom Jackson every Sunday, and I loved that show. I was obsessed with that show when the Chiefs won that afternoon. If the Chiefs lost that afternoon, I wanted nothing to do with that show. I'm not watching that show. I don't want to think about that show. I don't want to have to experience the 3 minutes that they cover the Chiefs loss, and so I'm out.
Yeah, no,
I've realized my son has got. I think me and my wife are both competitive. But man, he's 4 years old and literally everything is a competition. Like there's nothing that he's like, yeah, but I can jump higher. I can run faster. Like there was another kid who came over who's 4 years old today. And he was like, I ran faster than him and I jumped higher. And we had like a little bouncy house thing in our basement. He's like, I jumped higher and ran faster because that's just who I am. And I'm like, it doesn't have to, it could just be fun. Like, right? But to him, everything is like, with my 2-year-old daughter, he's like, yeah, but I'm going to eat dinner faster than her. I'm like, I doubt it because you're the slowest eater ever.
Always a competition.
Always a competition. It's crazy. So
But anyways, we're gonna it's a lot of fun. Again, we're gonna have a lot of great moments, opening these moments with you guys. So that's coming up here soon. So we kind of gave you some clickbait here to get you here, but I'm glad you are. So stay around for the rest of it. We have a lot to touch on. So real quick, one of the things we do on Sunday nights before we get into anything, we like to recap the Optimal Prime parlay of the week. So on Fridays, I typically put together a 17 parlay. I put my hard-earned cash on it and see how well we can do. Now, not this past week, but the week before, we had our best week ever, 5-2. We just blew it out of the water. Our record has been fantastic up until this point. Well, everything balances out, right, Scott? Everything always comes back to the mean, and this is no different. Our Optimal Prime picks of the week, we went 2-5. We went opposite this week, and it wasn't great. But 3 of our picks that we lost by a half a point. So the Detroit-Sacramento, we picked Detroit plus 2.5. It was a 3-point game. So we missed that one just barely. The Phoenix, we picked Phoenix -7 covered. That was fine. They had won by more than 7 there. The Portland Trailblazers, I liked them getting 5 against the team, the Lakers, that weren't doing very well without Anthony Davis. I thought they would do fine covering that 5. They didn't. It was more of I think it was a 9-point game.
I think 9 is right. Yeah.
So that didn't end up covering there, which that one was a weird one. Utah, Miami. I thought Utah was going to stay on a roll. This is a bittersweet one. I'm glad they lost because I'm tired of talking about Utah. But they did get beat by Miami, so they didn't cover their 6.5. They just lost outright. Arizona, Colorado. I picked Arizona plus 1.5. We're going to talk more on the local scene here in a little bit. But they, starting a new goaltender that game, I figured Arizona would be in a position to cover 1.5, and they did. They only lost by 1, so that was good for me. And then finally, the last 2 lost by a half a point. So L.A. lost 3-1 to Minnesota, so just barely missed out on that one. And then I had Bradley plus 8.5. This one lost by a half a point as well. So a lot of close ones. Those 3 could have gone either way, and we could have easily been talking about another 5-2 week. But that's betting for you. Our overall record now 19-16, still respectable. Could be a lot worse. So
yeah. There's more in that left column, which is good.
Yeah, which I'll take it.
So we'll bounce back next week.
Absolutely. We got this. Let's go. So next week is another week. If you want to catch those Optimal Prime picks of the week, we will be live on Friday afternoons, usually around like noonish Mountain Time, give or take. So we are always trying to get a better and better record on that. But yeah, almost there, Scotty. Almost there. And
you wouldn't enjoy the winning weeks if you always had them. So
No.
You need those losing weeks to really appreciate those winning weeks.
Took my VC on YouTube chat. How often does TopShot drop packs? TopShot drops packs periodically. So it's kind of random. Now with this, it's kind of they're still in beta phase, so they're trying to figure out how to go about figuring out when to drop these consistently. They dropped 2 this week, so they dropped a rare pack and they dropped a just a basic pack drop, which is a pre-order for everybody. Now they don't have a schedule. They do if you have an account with TopShot, they will let you know in advance up to 8 hours for any premium pack drop, so legendary or rare pack drops. Everything from the standpoint of basic is kind of random, and there are times where I don't even know when they're going and dropping. You have to be part of their Discord server and kind of understand when visiting back to the website constantly. I think they do need to figure something out there, Scott, because it's kind of like it's hard to know. You're checking back every hour on the hour throughout the day. It's kind of tedious, but yeah, it's not exactly a set schedule of when they drop packs. I think in the future, as they keep going forward, they're going to try to drop packs more often. But it's kind of sporadic early on. Now that they're trying to figure out all the analytics and all the hype and everyone who's coming in, they didn't expect all of this. So took my VC. Did you end up? Are you in the Top Shot game? Do you have any packs right now, or have you created an account? Let me know.
Yeah, they've been, I think, on purpose right now. They just drop these base packs and they don't alert you, and like it's at random times, because what that does is that just drives traffic. Like you're constantly checking the website. Did I miss a drop? Like sometimes you only like they only give a heads up 15 minutes prior to on those base packs, where it's like, oh, we're gonna drop a pack in this line. And even in those instances, like there's 5,000 packs they've been doing recently in those drops, and there's still, you know, 50 to 100,000 people in line for these packs. So the odds are long. Like I haven't got one yet through any of those. So the odds are still long, and but it drives people. Yeah, you're right. You're checking like, oh, if I check, every hour, I probably won't miss this. So that's driving people to their website, and then you're like, oh, let me check out the marketplace where I can buy cards and do all that stuff. I bought a stuff today. Pretty excited about it. It wasn't like it was an LE, but it was one of it like there's 15,000 of them out there, so nothing crazy. But I wanted a Steph card, so I bought one today. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice. Took my VC. I just joined not long ago. I don't have any packs right now. I'm hoping that I get some on the next drop. And yeah, that's the thing with this. It's been a little tough based off of all of the demand to get in on these pack drops and be successful with them, because when you have 11 latest rare drop, you had 11,000 packs that were available and up for grabs, and there were over close to just under 200,000 people in line. So with that being said, it shifts the focus to the marketplace, like you were just alluding to, Scott, where you have to kind of get a hold of these moments through buying moments through the marketplace, and you can get some good value. Like if you were buying moments on the marketplace within the last 3 or 4 weeks, last month or so, those moments, if you were to buy them, they would have gone up in value, and you could probably trade them and flip them, and even start a collection. I think the cheapest moments on there most recently were around like 18 to 20 bucks for an individual moment. So that's kind of where it's at, where you want to try to get in and try to start building a little bit of a collection, because you're still on the ground floor. Everyone is trying to jump in and buy packs, when really you should be trying to get in and buy some of these moments if you have the capability to do so, and try to increase the value over time, because there's going to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are going to want to get these, and who knows where the prices are going to be. That's the kind of thing. It's like Bitcoin. It's up and down. It's all over the place. You never know if it's going to skyrocket to like Bitcoin did to that. It was like 48,000 at one point, or
58
or 58, yeah. And so no one really thought it was going to be that high, but now it's coming back down a little bit. It's on all over the place. So so took my VC. Go ahead, check out the marketplace and see if there's a way, just to get a little collection started that way. That's always a way to go about it.
Buy some of the cheap ones too. Like these are all going to increase in value and price. Like right now it's still in beta. While it's grown a ton in the last couple months, the potential to grow so much more, and there's going to be so many more buyers out there, and holding on to these. Right now they're in like, their series 2 set. So series 2 cards that are limited edition are going to be where that you'll see that LE on there. So that means they can't continue to just make more and more of that highlighter card moving forward. It's limited to that number. So getting those now, because eventually it's going to be so big where like there's not going to be as many LEs out there. Like the base set's not going to have an LE. It's just going to be like a base set that has this, but it could exponentially, they could keep making that same one and keep growing and growing. So there's no way these don't, make money over time, because the popularity of NBA Top Shot is only going to grow, which means more buyers, wanting to get in on these cards that they never had a chance to get before and will never have a chance to get again. So, uh, like I had a card, only one of my cards in the marketplace, and I took it off, and I'm like, man, like I could make a little bit of money on this right now, absolutely, but long term play, like this could blow up. So I took it off. I'm looking to buy right now. I'm not looking to sell right now. I'm just gonna wait and see because this past week didn't really grow in value. Like all my cards kind of relatively stagnant. They went up a little bit in some of them, but nothing crazy because it had blown up right prior to this past week. And then this past week was kind of like up and down a little bit and kind of remained pretty level. So, but as this continues to grow, like everything's going to blow up. So
Yep.
try and get on, even if it's not those high value cards, get a few cards in your collection so you can get it going a little bit.
Took my VC. I bought a few moments on the marketplace. They're just common ones. So, would you recommend holding on to them? I would say yes. Hold on to them, especially the LEs. If you have those, any of the LEs out of 15,000 or out of 12,000, those ones are capped. And so, if you think about it, a lot of times these cards or these moments, anytime they're limited edition, that means that's the only amount that could be created of that moment. Now, 15,000 seems like a lot. 12,000 seems like a lot when you have those caps. But just think about how the demand is right now. If there are 200,000 people willing to jump in on a pack drop, that means and it's growing. It's growing exponentially week by week with Mark Cuban tweeting about it. All of these big names, Gary Vee has talked about it. All these big names have brought this to the marketplace. All the NBA players, NFL players are even talking about it. I've seen a couple of people tweet about it there. And as this grows, let's say you have 500,000, even more than 1 million people that are starting to grow onto this. 15,000 isn't a lot. When it comes to those LEs. So in the grand scheme of things, as this grows, those 15 out of 15,000 LEs, common cards, those are the ones that are going to be pretty valuable because then they're going to have to increase those with the demand, right? If there's over 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, they're going to have to create more of those LEs in larger quantities. So instead of LEs being 15,000, they're going to be 50,000. They're going to be 75,000, and they're going to lose that value. But then you go back and look at the ones that are 12 out of 12,000. Those are going to be pretty pricey eventually. So I would say if you can afford to get some of those LEs for 12,000, 15,000, that's going to be a nice little investment that you could hold on to for the long term. It's not something you would want to just buy and just try to sell right away. I would hold on to those.
Yeah, this is how far it's come though. I bought a week or so ago a Jamal Murray from highlight from the Western Conference Finals last year. Yeah, he hit a three over Anthony Davis, but I bought that. It's one of 999, so limited in that, pretty limited in that regard. But also at that time when they were throwing out those packs, they didn't have enough buyers. So literally they only sold half of the packs. So they're doing what's called a burn to half of the. So out of the 999, there's really only 500 of those out there. The other 500 that were never bought because at that time TopShot was just starting and there just wasn't the interest they're basically burning. So that's part of why I bought it. I'm like, this is one of 999, but really it's one of 500 because, and they're not going to change the number on it, but they're also going to figure out a way, I guess, to like signify that, hey, yes, this is number 787, but actually it's 232 or whatever because there's only 500 and they're burning, if you will, and never selling those other 500.
VC.
That's how much it's grown.
It's crazy. And VC, I'm glad you're getting into it now that, it's still in its infancy. I was lucky enough to get in, back a while ago when, there was a point where you could buy 5 packs at a time and the rare pack drops were, I think, $27. And now the latest rare drop was 99. The latest legendary was 1,000. The previous legendary drop was 230. So all the prices keep stacking and stacking, and the more value, the more people interested, the higher these are going to go. So, but yeah, I wished I got into a while ago when they're going for like $3. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
insane. And Scott, you and I remember when we first got in there, we were like, there were tens of thousands of packs available, and no one was buying them. They were just sitting there on the website, and
I
you could,
bought I
yeah,
bought a base pack, and I got these cards, and then I looked on the resale marketplace, and they were like a lot of them were going for like $1 or $2 resale. So I'm like, I'm not gonna buy more packs. Wow, did I make a huge mistake? Those are all those are all like the top one is like it was a $12 pack. I got a Carl Anthony Towns, so not like a mega star, but that's my best card I got in it. It's worth like $900 right now. All of them are worth over 300, and I spent $12 on this. And there, you could have just bought all the packs up at that time. Like
yep.
there were like it wasn't selling out. It was just available on the site for these base packs for $12. And I wish I would have just bought them all because I would be raining in money right now if that was the case.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely got in early on, and I bought more packs. I could have bought more packs. I'm with you. I just saw them there and I was like, "Yeah, I don't need those. They're just basic. Whatever." Even the basic ones right now are going crazy. So yeah, it's always that coulda, woulda, shoulda. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. But again, you're so early on in this that VC, if you're able to jump in and get some, uh, definitely take advantage of that and try to grab those and hold on to them for a while, and you will see uh, generally over the course of what we've seen so far and how early on stages we are, you should see a little return based off of what you get. So,
In VC, I don't know if you heard, we talked about how they had, for the first time ever this past yesterday, I think, where it was basically a release on a base set where it was a pre-order, where if you were in line within this certain time frame, you were guaranteed a pack. So we'll see if they do that going forward a lot, or if that's like a rare thing that they do. Um, but that was like a guarantee yesterday. Now, like we said earlier on in the show, like we haven't got those yet. They said it might take 2 or 3 weeks to get them, and we hope to open those up on here. But at least that's a guarantee of getting a pack, and the excitement at least of like clicking on it and being like, what am I gonna get here? Like, and maybe you'll strike it big.
and VC, we're going to be talking a lot of NBA Top Shot moving forward. I think this might be even something that we might do almost maybe once a week potentially, because I think there's a lot of interest and a lot of hype, and a lot of people have questions that aren't necessarily familiar with this, and we want to answer those and try to, since Scott and I were able to get in a little bit earlier and get ahead of the game. So make sure you're following on either YouTube or I think you're watching on YouTube, and then anyone who's on Twitch, we're going to be trying to push those. Just hit that follow button, and we'll be trying to push more of this Top Shot content and trying to give you some of that advice on maybe trending players up and down, who to purchase, who to sell, who to buy low, sell high, different market trends and moves when it comes to different rares or legendaries. So as long as you're following, you'll get the notifications that we're going live, and we can make sure we get all of your questions answered. But keep those coming, VC. Whatever questions you have, hit us with them, and we'll keep those answers rolling your way. So I'm lucky enough. I have about 115, 120 moments right now, and it was I don't know how. My brother-in-law brought me into this, and he was into crypto, and he's still he's now jumping in. He told me about this, but he didn't jump in himself, which is kind of strange, right? And so it's just a crazy trend that's just going to the moon at this point. Everyone's talking about Bitcoin, everyone's talking about crypto and all of the GameStop stuff, and or GameStop stuff. But watch out for this, because this is going to be trending in other industries. It's going to be trending in music and art and you name it. It's going to be big, and I think it's going to be even crazier and crazier as it expands. These NFTs, these tokens for different for different industries is going to go crazy on it. So, um, VC, do you guys think even with the lower guys like Ish Smith, role player type guys going for $18, do you guys think those guys will still go up in price? I believe so. Yes, I do. As of right now, just having those, here's the thing. The demand is so crazy right now that anyone wants to get in. So even if you have these moments like Ish Smith, like maybe I don't know, some of these kind of role player guys that just aren't really like Boban for Dallas Mavericks, or some of these guys have moments. They're not big names. They don't start, but they still have some moments going. I think there is value in those. I definitely more so the LEs than the CCs. So the LEs are the limited editions, the one they caps. I think those ones, regardless of who they are, anytime you have something that's a limited edition, those ones will be probably a little bit more than the commons. So there's a lot of the common cards, the CCs, which are still, there's not a cap, so they're going to keep creating those until they put a cap on them. And, eventually they'll go LEs. But even like the Ish Smiths, you can find an LE out of 1,500 or 15,000 out of 12,000. I think those will still go up in value, and I still think those are going to be ones that you would eventually make money on, especially as this grows. Again, it's going to grow like crazy.
Yeah, like you kind of talked about before, like eventually these releases on the base sets won't be 15,000, it'll be 50,000 of these cards. So having a card of, a guy that's maybe not a superstar, but it's only limited to 15,000 looks a lot better than even potentially having like a much better player on a 50,000 set. So it's still where it's low enough and there's not going to be a ton of those out there where it's worth getting and hanging on to. I mean, like, the base sets before in series 1 that I got were at 1,500. Now it's already at 15,000. So I mean, I have guys like, I have Damian Lee, who threw an assist, and it's not like Damian Lee's just some sort of all-star, and the lowest ask right now is much lower than it's been before, but right now it's 250. So yeah, even with those lower tiered guys, because of the low volume of that highlight or whatever out there, it'll drive that to increase in price for sure, I think.
So yeah, VC, I think to answer your question, $18 now, you hold on to those, and you got to think of this as a long game, right? As this grows, you may not see that value over the next, maybe couple months. Maybe you will. I mean, that's how crazy it's been growing. But if you think this is going to be, if you can hold on to those for probably a year to see where this kind of plays out, you're going to see some value grow in that. I think 100%. It's going to be definitely worth it. $18. I guarantee those things are probably going to be worth those LEs, those 1,500, 15,000s, 12,000s, even regardless of who they are. I mean, if you look at the rares and the legendaries, there's the rare and the legendaries that are role player guys. You'll see guys like Ian Cantor, or Tim Hardaway, which he plays a little bit more for the Mavericks, but role player guys for various teams with rare drops out of 200. Even those guys are selling like crazy, and obviously they're not going to be as valuable as like a Giannis or a LeBron James or a Luka. Those guys are just balling. So you open up one of those packs, it's instant value, obviously. But you still, I think now's the time to jump in and get as many of those little guys while they're affordable as possible. Because eventually, again, you're going to have LEs out of 80,000, out of 75,000. And then you're going to look back on these 12,000s and 15,000s and be like, man, I wish I would have purchased those when I had the chance. So keep that in mind. If you're looking at it, here's one of my tips, and here's what I'm not able to do this yet, but scooping up as many of the legendaries as possible. They're very expensive. Don't get me wrong. The any legendaries out of 50, out of 75, out of 85 right now, you can find some on the marketplace. The lowest you can find is $3,000. Those eventually are going to be absolutely ridiculous. That's my prediction. It's my gut feeling, and I just can't afford to just go and spend $3,000 on a moment at this very juncture. But those guys eventually are going to be rocket fuel for value. And I don't think people see that yet. People are saying, "Oh, $3,000 for this? I'm not buying this." Just wait a year, man. I'm trying to. I'm currently my strategy is to try to sell some of my low CCs for maybe like some maybe a Zion or whatever, and see if I can try to turn those into legendaries, which those will be crazy. So that's going to be my strategy to try to collect as many of those. We have one legendary. I mistakenly sold one legendary early on for $750. It was a Kyrie Irving legendary. Deck the halls during the Christmas time. Sold it for $750. I thought I was the king. That moment is going for $14,000 now. So I look dumb. But we have one other one. We have a Goran Dragic legendary that's going for about $5,000 right now. So that's good. But legendaries are where it's at. If you can eventually get one of those, that would be fantastic. But
Took my VC. Just asked, what about when it comes to what the highlight is? Like, do you think a dunk will be worth more than a layup or a 3-pointer, more than an assist? It's tough. I think first and foremost, it's the player. Like, it's who the card is, right, or the moment is. And then yeah, there's certain, like, a lot of people think like, hey, I'll take a risk on this player. Like, let's say I said Damian Lee, and not that he's like, what if they dunk on an all-star? Like, what if he dunks on Anthony Davis? Does that make that card worth more? We'll see. It's early on. Like, I don't know. Sometimes in like an assist, probably I would imagine isn't valued as much as like a three or a dunk at this time, but mostly it's about the player, and it's about how many of those moments there are out there right now. I think we'll see how the highlight and the moment itself like affects it moving forward.
yeah, I think it's in the eye of the beholder at the moment. So right now, there's a couple moments that kind of pop out. That one, I think, no matter what it is, it's mainly the player. You're right, Scott. Also, jersey number is another one that kind of, like, if you have the matching jersey number, which doesn't really make sense. Like, who, like, why is that a thing? Like, that's weird, right? Like, why is Nikola Jokic number 15? Why is his number 15 that much more valuable than a number 16 or 17? Really, it's just kind of like like, you could just say whatever. Like, that's the thing with this trend stuff is, all right, well, let's say I have a Nikola Jokic 15-15, like 1,515. Well, that's not valuable at the moment, but like maybe it could be. Like, it's kind of weird, but like, you just don't know what's going to be trending and who's going to be like the Discord server. There's a lot of trolls on the Discord server that are like, trying to influence the market one way or another, trying to make their moments a little bit more valuable or whatever. But I think those are the kind of things that you just don't know what it's going to be. Like, I I don't
I
know.
would like people to jump on what you were just talking about. So I had my Jamal Murray I was talking about, that's at a 999 from the Western Conference Finals. I have number 270. Jamal Murray's number 27.
Yeah, see,
And I'm
so
like, can we just like, it's just adding a zero. It's basically 27. So can that be a thing? I don't know.
so to answer your question, VC, currently all of them are pretty even based off of the fact that people just want moments in general. People just want anything, steals, threes, layups. It doesn't really matter. So at this juncture, there's the higher serial number is going to be valuable. So obviously, number 1. We have I have a number 4 or number 6. I'm sorry, Trae Young, and it's a common LE, and that's one of our more valuable moments at the current juncture. So high serial numbers, jersey matching serial numbers, and just in general, if it's in the top like third of serial numbers for how many moments are made, those are going to be a little bit more valuable than some of those bottom tier serial numbers. But I would say as of right now, um, yeah, I would say it's going to be more general than it is anything else. So,
And I feel like some of the moments right now, like NBA Top Shot was like, I don't really care. I don't really care what the highlight is. We're just gonna get this out there. Like some of them aren't like that exciting of plays, and that's okay because it still works. So I don't think the moment itself, outside of like maybe who they did it against or what moment they did it in, like um, matters. But like ultimately, like I said, my Damian Lee, it's an assist from Damian Lee, and it's worth several $100s. And he's not exactly the top tier guy out there that you're looking for. So I'll take it. But
yeah,
I have a Markeith Morris 3-pointer. It does, everything plays right now.
everything plays. Eventually, there might be some things like some might have rookie moments attached to them. Some might have they're going to get really
For sure.
intricate with like this is their first 10 assist game. This is their first 15 rebound game. Like they're going to start getting. We've seen kind of some rumors about this. Rookies obviously are another one. If you can get in some rookies now those have been popping off a lot. Or if there's any guys that you think are going to just blow up. Let's say you have an insider on your team that you're just like, man, this guy's going to be something in the next 10 years. Get those moments now, and they're going to just blow up. So just keep that in mind. It's always just trying to get ahead of, any kind of major trend that you think is on the horizon for a certain player or a certain team. Jump on it early. Take that gamble because now's the time.
Well, speaking of kind of lame moments, but also cool moments, I think you have this moment. It's the only LaMelo Ball moment out there right now, and it's
Correct.
his first assist ever in the NBA. And if you watch the moment, it's borderline. I don't even know why he got credit for an assist like that, because like he just like passed it out on the top of the key, and oh my gosh, what's his name? That was with Utah, and then Boston before going. Gordon Hayward,
Yep.
like got the ball, took like a couple dribbles to the right, and hit a shot. Like for Lamelo Ball, it was like a nothing play, but it was his first assist ever in the NBA. So, and that's his only highlight out there. So that's going crazy right now, of course, because everyone thinks Lamelo is going to blow up, and I think it's going to be like the your normal physical card trading circuit where those rookie ones are going to end up being more valuable as we go. If you can get them in their rookie year or something where it's their first assist, even if the play itself is super super lame.
Yeah. There's some weird ones out there where you're just like, wait a minute, how did this end up being a Top Shot moment? It's kind of strange. But hey, people are buying them up, and that's what everyone is jumping on. So it's the trend itself. So VC, yeah. Just again, I don't think there's too many special things when it comes to choosing a different like type of moment. It's all about the player. It's all about the potential, the rookies, those types of things. So try to look out for those guys that are going to blow up. Like guys later in their career that maybe are just like Ian's Cantor is one I said earlier. Like he's not going to necessarily blow up anytime soon. His career is going to be slowing down. It's not. I don't anticipate him to all of a sudden make an all-star team. I don't anticipate him to start blowing up. So his value has a lower ceiling than somebody like, you know, a younger player coming up, um, like a Bull or um, any kind of young player, even the other Ball brother. I think
Lonzo.
Lonzo is another one that he's like not having a great. He's not playing as well as his little younger brother, but he still has an opportunity because he has a long career ahead of him to do some things. So you just don't know what he's going to develop into. But if you have a hunch that he's going to blow up, maybe you take advantage of getting some of his moments while they're on the low because he's not playing very well or he's not playing to what he could potentially be quite yet in his career. So those are just some things to just forecast moving forward when it comes to trying to buy on the marketplace and try to get some moments that are lower right now that might grow over time. Thanks for
And then
the
it'll be interesting to see. Eventually, Top Shot will get into like there's got to be like moments that are like record breaking moments for a player.
oh yeah,
Eventually Steph Curry is going to be the leading 3-point shooter, or like make more threes in the NBA than any other player ever. And like that moment would be insane to grab. Like, so eventually, I don't know if they've got into that yet, but like even like season record breaking moments, whether it's like most assists or team franchise stuff, like those moments where it's like an impactful thing like that. I feel like eventually Top Shot will get into. I mean, Mark Cuban basically said the other day, like this is going to be could become like the third best revenue source for the NBA of all their revenue sources. So
which mind blowing.
yeah, and granted, I think he's trying to hype it up a little to get it going too because it's in his best interest to do it. So there's a little bit of like, he's involved because they have a partnership with the NBA. Otherwise, they wouldn't have access to these moments. So I'm waiting for the ball to drop on these other sports because these other sports have to see what's happening and be like, we have to do this too. And I don't know if it's going to be a same situation where you're going to be able to get in on the ground floor like this was with other sports based off this popularity and where it's going to be. But I'm ready to jump in on any other sport. You talked about music and art and where this could all head and stuff. And like, there's a ton of people out there that I tell, and they're like, wait, so you're just like these highlights you can see for free on like YouTube or any site people buy and pay for. And I'm like, yeah, they do.
Yep.
Um, but like, it's not that different from like a playing card. Like a playing card is just like a picture. You're like, I could get that picture easily somewhere else for much cheaper. But no, it's this collectible. It's the notoriety that you have of having this item or whatever. So um, it's blowing up, and I hope it moves to other sports. And I will buy because I haven't mentioned his name yet. I will buy all the Mahomes moments out there, all of them.
Oh, those ones. If it goes to NFL, Mahomes, you better believe any kind of throwbacks with any kind of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, maybe some because the NBA's done that with the Top Shot a little bit. They've gone back and thrown out some like Dirk Nowitzki moments or Tim Duncan moments or Kevin Garnett moments. Those exist out in the NBA Top Shot world. They just right now haven't really been. Those were before even I got into it. So you can go back far with this stuff. I mean, there could be some fun things going on with all of this. So the hype is real. Jump in if you can, and just start a collection. It's a lot of fun. It's addicting to see what your moments are going for and what you can sell them for, and it's a lot of fun. So if you have the capability to do so, jump in. VC, thanks for all the questions, man. Keep those coming. If you have more questions, throw them our way because we love talking about it. And again, I think Scott, I think this is something that maybe we just dedicate a whole show to kind of just answer questions and keep this rolling. Given the fact that, hey, we could be your exclusive NBA Top Shot, hub for all questions, NBA Top Shot. So give us a follow on YouTube or Twitter or all of our social medias, but Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. We have links everywhere, so make sure you're following. Make sure you're getting those notifications, and we want to make sure you guys are getting filled in on all of the updates going on with NBA Top Shot. So, um, Scotty, let's go ahead and let's shift over to our Mile High Spotlight. I know we definitely want to hit some of these different topics here, but it's great to have somebody jump in and take us off schedule a little bit, because that's what we want your participation. And VC, you definitely we love all of the insights, so keep it coming. We'll talk Top Shot as long as you want to talk it, buddy. So let's dive into some of the local sports this week of what went on here in the Colorado scene when it comes to Broncos, Nuggets, Avs, and Rocks, the big four. So, as far as this week goes, we had some kind of just, general weeks across the board. Nuggets went 2-2. The Avs went 2-2. We expected them to go a little bit better than that. We predicted that both of them would maybe go 3-1, or if not 4-0 in these games, because they had the opportunity to, but they just couldn't get it rolling. And now we're just kind of like, okay, well, hopefully they can get a better week next week. But let's go ahead. Let's start with the Nuggets. Started out really, not so great with that Atlanta loss, 123-115. And then they ended up just going, just winning one, losing one, winning one. But, initially to start out that Atlanta loss, this was the Nuggets' fourth game in 6 days. So they just seemed like they were a little bit tired. Trae Young had 35 points, 15 assists. Capella had 22 points, 10 rebounds. Jamal Murray was coming off a career-high 50-point game on Friday in Cleveland. He led Denver with 30. Jokic and Barton and Monte Morris each had 15. Michael Porter Jr. scored 10 points in the first quarter, shot 72% on 20 attempts from the field, but led, as far as that goes when it comes to, the young kid trying to put in some solid efforts there. But Denver was outscored 37-23 in the second in that game. Nuggets dropped to 1-10 when allowing at least 119 points. And Jokic pulled down 10 rebounds for his league-leading 27th double-double after that game. So injuries, though. JaMychal Green didn't play most of the game. He started, but then he ended up, bowing out. Gary Harris and some of the other guys, Millsap, PJ Dozier, all hurt. So that was that first game. Wasn't great there, but it is what it is. Scott, do you want me to go through the rest of the recap of these other games, and then you want to just chime in, or do you want to just hop in on that one specifically, or?
We can play it either way. That game, we found out while we were on our show last week at this time that they lost that game, but we didn't have a ton of the details. So
Yep.
we didn't predict that one. I think we predicted the other three, and I said they should go 3-0 in those three, and I still feel like they should have. They did go 2-1 with a loss to a weirdly hot Washington team, which we can dive into here. But yeah, that game, like, neither of us got to check out a lot. Disappointing, but that was the end of a East Coast road trip where they always seem to tire out and not play great. So it wasn't like shocking that they lost that game. And then came back. We can talk about that Portland game. Came back with a nice win at home against Portland in a game that was on TNT, so people could watch. And Jamal showed up in the fourth like he likes to do right now.
Yep.
But, they played well. Obviously, Denver's down a lot of guys right now. Portland's down, a couple guys with Nurkic and McCollum still out, so they're a little banged up. But we held Lillard in check. He didn't have like a blow up game, so that's good. And our two guys that need to contribute. Murray did in the fourth quarter for sure. I think he had like I don't know. Oh, I what I do know is with a stat is that Murray led all players in fourth quarter scoring in the month of February. So he averaged right around 10.5 points a game in the fourth quarter in the month of February, which led all players in the NBA. So he's been clutch. He's been, and we'll talk about a moment that happened in the next game, but Murray over his last nines averaged 30 points a game, 56% from the field, and these are his 3-point percentages, like 66, 54, 50, 37, 80, 50, 50, 40 in his
Yep.
last, what is that, 8 games.
Yep.
So his worst game from 3-point land was 37.5, which is like actually pretty not great, but like that's not bad either. So, and that was his worst game. He's been over 50% in all but like one of those actually from three. So Murray's slowly entering in the bubble. Murray, uh, obviously Joker's Joker. He's playing great still, and they're a little inconsistent otherwise.
Yep. Nikola finished 41 points. Jamal celebrated his 24th birthday on that night, scoring 19 of his 24 in the fourth quarter. Jokic had 23 points in the first half, 12 more in the third quarter to help Denver force that tie to go into the final 12 minutes, which was, clutch. As far as that goes. By the way, Denver in this game set an NBA record. Denver finished with one turnover this whole game. So that was a big one, which was an NBA record. The one miscue was in the second quarter when Jamal Murray lost the ball out of bounds. But
I was going to say it was Jamal.
It was Jamal, yeah, unfortunately. But, I mean, otherwise he had a fantastic game. But that was a big, that's crazy. I never heard that before, that a team that was only turned over the ball one time in a game. So that was wild.
He talked about that in the press conference after. He's like, I got to be better. I had 100% of, he said something like 100% of our turnovers or something along the line of referencing the fact that like he had that one turnover, which was the only one, which is pretty wild.
Yeah. One turnover. And then Damian Lillard on the other end had 20 of his 25 points in the second half, added 13 assists, but they dropped their third straight after a 6-game winning streak that they had rolling. It also marked the anniversary of the Denver Carmelo Anthony trade to the Knicks. I'm sorry. So when we received that first round pick, and then Murray, which they selected to use on Murray, 7th overall in 2016. So that was kind of just a random thing. So, but yeah, Portland lost the 3 straight for the first time all season. Denver was without Gary Harris, PJ Dozier, Millsap, JaMychal Green. So they're just really in a rough spot when it comes to injuries. So that's pretty much what that game entailed there. So that was a big win on national TV, which I feel like sometimes the Nuggets don't show up on national TV as much as I would like them to. And then, you hear guys like, Charles Barkley and then giving us a hard time about some of our which we're going to get into here in the next game in Washington here in a second. But they showed up big.
Yeah, so, I was a little disappointed. Apparently the Tuesday squad on TNT is kind of like their B squad now. So it's not I think Shaq was still on the post game, but Barkley and Kenny weren't on, and who's there? He wasn't on either. It was,
EJ. Ernie Johnson.
Dwayne Wade was on there though, which is kind of interesting.
Yep.
Ernie Johnson, yeah, he wasn't on there. It was the guy from Bleacher Report that was like the Ernie replacement. I can't think of his name right now. I actually like him a lot. He was fine. Dwayne Wade was on there. They just hired Dwayne Wade on TNT recently. He needs some work. He just needs to get a little more comfortable. I think he'll be fine eventually. Yeah. But I was looking forward to after the game, because I didn't watch halftime, getting some sweet analysis from Charles. And he wasn't on there, and I'm like, what?
No. What? No analysis from Charles in that one. But there's plenty from the Washington game, which the Denver Nuggets ended up dropping a 2-point game to the Washington Wizards just this past week on Thursday. Bradley Beal was 33-point effort. He thought in that last play of the game, it came down to the last play of the game where he was the sole defender on a Denver 4-and-1 fast break. in the final 3 seconds of the game, and the Nuggets ended up choking that game away. And as far as that game goes, Murray already had 6 threes scored on 34 points. At the end, he had the ball in his hands, had multiple options to work with. There were 4 Nuggets on that side of the court, and all of them at some point didn't do something they probably should have done. So here's what a snapshot of this play looked like, though, because it was just kind of a weird play, and we have it on the screen here. It was literally a fast break 4-on-1, because it looks like Hachimura just is closer than it actually was from this angle. He was actually trailing behind, and it was a 4-on-1 with Bradley Beal being the only defender. And 4 of our Nuggets players, including Jamal Murray, stopped at the 3-point line. Michael Porter Jr. could have cut. He was the first one down the court, but he ended up going to the corner. And then Campazzo and Mark Morris, Monte Morris, ended up just stopping at the 3-point line as well. And this was a big debate on TNT because Shaq was arguing with Chuck on what they should have done or what they could have done, and they were going back and forth on whether or not Jamal Murray could have driven the ball 1-on-1 against Bradley Beal, whether or not it was right for MPJ to go out to the corner. He should have just cut to the basket. With 3.3 seconds, you have to get a layup there to tie the game. It's a guarantee that you have. Michael Malone came out in the post game and was like, he was mind boggled. He didn't know what happened. He knew that they missed a huge opportunity to get a big play here at the end of the game, and they didn't. This ended up going to be a bounce pass to Campazzo on the right side for a 3-point shot with nobody in front of him, and he clanked it.
He barely grazed the rim.
He clanked it.
It was
yeah.
bad.
So
grazed back the rim.
Let us know in chat what you would have done in this. What would you have liked to have seen in this final play? Because right now, looking at this, it's crazy to me that we weren't able to get a decent shot off for this, regardless of what happened.
I wish I had like a marker right now where I could just like draw up what actually happened. Like we got to improve our tech, like ESPN has and TNT. Where I can just draw because this does a disservice to what Michael Porter Jr. did on this play because he was running right along the edge of like the free throw paint on the right side, and instead of just continuing to drive there. So it's not like he was like outside that line the whole time and just ran straight and was in the corner. No, he went from literally going right towards the hoop, and he went out of his way to cut outside to like there is like if you're gonna blame, there's a lot of guys to blame, but by far the worst to blame on this play is Michael Porter Jr. He had a layup, a dunk, a whatever to send this game into overtime where you're the Denver Nuggets, you're the better team, you're at home, like let's go to overtime. But instead, he went out of his way to cut to the corner for no reason whatsoever. Like it could have been an alley-oop dunk. He would have had time to collect it. It didn't have to be an alley-oop. He could have been passed, collect it, done a windmill, maybe through the legs. I don't care what he did. He was that wide open if he just cut to the hoop. But instead he flared out. And then the only thing you can't do on this play, if you're Jamal Murray, is look over at the guys over there and say like, "Oh, I see you, Campazzo. Let me throw you the ball because you can't shoot." And sure enough, he threw Campazzo the ball, and he had an open look. It wasn't even a bad look, but he barely grazed the rim. Like he was not you want. Like it's funny walking off the court. There's video of Jamal Murray hitting himself in the chest, like my bad. I should have just shot. And there's video of Michael Porter Jr. being like, "My bad. I should have not been an idiot and just cut to the actual hoop and got an easy dunk and took this to overtime." But this was the single worst fast break potentially in the history of basketball.
High school teams know on a 2-to-1 fast break, a 3-to-1 fast break, how to compete and go down the court and finish passing the ball, doing what they got to do. Like, this was bad. This was so bad.
There's, as you can see on the clock, there's 3.3 seconds here, which I know if you're the player out there, you can't fully tell, but like Jamal could, like, I would rather Jamal's open right there. I'd rather Jamal shoot than pass the ball to any of those guys beyond the 3-point line in that situation. And then maybe because there's 3.3 seconds left, those guys can then crash even if he misses it and get a tip in and send it to overtime. Like, everything outside of what they did probably would have worked.
I mean, Jamal could have even
Except for
driven the ball in Bradley Beal and taken the ball to the hole, and that would have even been okay. I would have liked that option as well because he had the momentum. It was Bradley Beal has to account for everybody else on the other side of the court as well because he has to go, potentially jump and block, contest a shot from someone else. Again, it doesn't help that Michael Porter flared out because then, if Michael Porter stays going to the lane, then Bradley Beal has to be in the middle of the lane to kind of defend on both ends, on both sides for both players, and that leads an open layup for Jamal. So either way,
I don't think Bradley Beal knew what Porter did. I think this is Bradley Beal's defense right here, not knowing what's behind him. I don't think he had the ability to see what Porter did.
Yeah.
So ultimately, that's what he was going to do, and I could have thrown one off my knee that would have made it to Michael Porter Jr. if he would have just dove towards the hoop if I'm Jamal Murray, but instead he flared out to the corner, which is like the worst percentage for 3-point shots. Hopefully Michael grew a little during this play because I honestly think it's easy who to blame, and other guys made mistakes too, but Michael Porter Jr. made by far the worst decision in this, in my mind. This play.
It was rough, and I think that there just that will never happen again. If it does, we're doing some things on this team and moving some guys to the bench or whatever. I don't know what happens, but it was not a great look for us, especially when you got the national guys, talking about it. Plus, the Nuggets committed 18 turnovers, literally a game after turning over the ball once. So there was just some inconsistencies there. It shouldn't have come down to that last play in the first place because they shouldn't have turned the ball over that many times. And then the Wizards ended up taking those takeaways into 23 points, and they only committed 11 turnovers themselves, which led to 15 Denver points. So it shouldn't. We say this, it shouldn't have come down to that last play, but we had that game in our hands and we just kind of gave it away. But let's move on to the final game of the week. Saturday, we played the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is one of the more complete games. I texted you, Scotty, after this game, and I was like, man, they looked really good. Their starting five looked like, if you look at the box score, the starting five did what they needed to do. Jamal Murray continued his hot scoring with 26 points, and Jokic had his eighth triple-double of the season, I'm sorry. So, I mean, he almost had that at halftime, but he ended up getting it towards the second half. Murray, averaging 30.1 points in his previous 7 games, made 9 of 15 field goals, and Denver shot 55% from the field. So that was a really good positive number. I think Jamal Murray's definitely turning it up now better than he was early on in the season, and he's turning into bubble Jamal Murray, I think, soon, if not already. So that's fantastic. Joker had 19 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists. Porter had 20 points, 10 rebounds. Barton had 15 points, which Barton, he's kind of an underrated guy on this team. He's been hurt. He hasn't really been in the lineup as frequently, but he's a scorer. I mean, he puts the ball in the hoop, and to have his little boost of energy there was great. So they controlled it from the onset. So they were leading this game for pretty much the whole stretch. Porter, who had an 18-10 double-double at home, made all 4 of his 3-point shots in the first quarter and scored 14 points as the Nuggets led as many as 23 in this game. Nuggets played without PJ Dozier, and then Millsap, Jermichael Green, and Gary Harris. So the Nuggets went 15 of 31 on three-pointers, and they led 13-0 after 3 minutes of this game. So they out-rebounded the Thunder 49-37 and had 30 assists to go around. So it was just overall a really great team game.
I mean, the starters played great. None of the starters shot below 50% from the field. All of them played in between 28 and 31 minutes, so not a ton of minutes, and all of them scored in double figures. Um, Murray led the way with 26 and 31 minutes, but like Porter had 20 points in 28 minutes. Joker had 19 and 30. Morris had 13. Barton had 15. And both of them played 28 minutes. So they were all super solid. Um, Super cool play at the end of the game. RJ Hampton had a sweet highlight reel dunk.
Man.
He looks to be super athletic. And then afterwards, I don't know if you heard today that he went on the I don't know what's called in the NBA, but essentially the COVID list, if you will. So it sounds like he'll be out through the All Star break here. Hopefully, he's the only one. I know they were doing some contact tracing, so hopefully he's the only one of the Nuggets, as they got a couple more games before this All Star break, where he's out. But hopefully he's the only one, so they can play with these other guys. But he looks to be. I'm kind of excited about Najee and Hampton eventually moving forward. Granted, you always get excited with those young guys anytime they flash anything at all, and you excuse all the dumb, shitty things they do. But he looks super quick. He looks super athletic. Najee looks like he has way more range already than I thought, and could be a high energy guy. Um, so those two picks in the first round, I think they were both
Yep.
first rounders. To me, look pretty solid because they were obviously late first. I'm excited about both those guys. And as we'll see what happens, they might not get the minutes that they're getting right now, especially Najee's getting minutes because Green and Millsap are out, and they'll be back here eventually. But it's good to see him get in there and like contribute a little bit. And he has way more range from three than I ever thought he would. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and the thing with RJ Hampton is he's shown flashes. How many other rookies have two poster dunks in the amount of time that he's played? Like, he doesn't play very often, guys. He doesn't play. He plays maybe garbage time. Most of his playing time is garbage time, and he's able to put. Hence, it is against some like maybe second stringers and whatever on the other team. But I will say he's got some more better highlights than some other rookies that are in the league right now. NBA TopShot, look out for those highlight reels from RJ Hampton. He's already got 2 dunks that are posters ready to go. You just wait for those moments to go into packs, Scotty, and I'm going to be all over those RJ Hampton dunks because he's going to be, I think, a very dynamic player in this offense, in this Nuggets team. I think
athletically, he reminds me so much of like a Russell
Westbrook. I knew you were gonna say Russell Westbrook.
So much. I mean, granted, the dude's averaging like 2.5 points and 2 boards a game right now, and like a half of an assist. So he's not done anything in the league. Far from Westbrook right now, but there's nothing about his profile that doesn't scream Westbrook. And maybe he won't be the insane personality that Westbrook is.
And
either.
maybe he can shoot better.
Yeah, like obviously I say Westbrook with the caveat that like Westbrook's never been a great shooter, and RJ Hampton doesn't have a consistent shot to his game right now. But the athleticism and the quickness is very, very similar. And he's 6'4". He's good size for a point guard. Like, if he can figure out his shot and figure out how to fit inside an offense and like distribute the ball, he's going to be a major player eventually.
Yep, I 100% agree. So that's going to be the wrap up for the Nuggets this past week. We have 3 games coming up this week before the All-Star break. So 3-game road trip. They're on the road between the Midwest, and they're hitting Chicago, Milwaukee, and Indiana. Which Chicago is a team that they should get a good win against. That's a young team that's still trying to find its way. Still not quite to the level that some of the other teams that they've played against. We said that about Oklahoma City, and we got a good win against Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City's kind of fallen off. They're a nice young team, but they've exceeded expectations and come back down to earth. Chicago's kind of just been a little bit average. Milwaukee is a big one. They're a big threat in the East, and that's going to be a big game against Giannis and company. That's going to be a tough game. And then Indiana. So my boy Domantas Sabonis and company will be trying to hold down their home court on Thursday. So, yeah, it's going to be what's that?
Did you hear your boy made the All-Star game?
Yeah.
This is now in the All-Star game.
Yes. So all of you Gonzaga fans out there, big ups. I know we had some questions from some of the I think P. Nix from previous chat was talking about whether or not he was going to be in there. And yes, he will be, which is fantastic because, man, he's a baller. I love any kind of Zag that can compete and get into the All-Star game. I think that's his second All-Star game, I think from our last stream we were talking about. So that'll be fun for him. He definitely deserves it. So huge week for the Nuggets to go out, and it's going to be a well-needed All-Star break for all the injuries that we're battling right now. So let's move on, though. We have some Avalanche talk to get to. So the Avs were in action this past week. They had a 50-50 week here. So they ended up losing their last game to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Golden Knights. Man, it's been a week, man. It's
all good. They've only been around for like 2 years.
Yeah, so I know. So they ended up losing 3-0. It wasn't a really great game for the Avs. Marc-Andre Fleury, their goalie, stopped 34 shots. Alex Touche scored twice as part of the 3-goal spree in the second period as the Golden Knights cruised to a 3-point win over the Avalanche. So that was Fleury's 64th career shutout in the finale of a 4-game series. So it was a 2-2 series, which was good. That was, the fact that you're playing and you get a 2-2 split against arguably the co-favorite to win the Stanley Cup, that I'll take it. It's better than anything else. If Rockies, if you're playing against a big team like really really hot competitive team, you want to get a split at the bare minimum. That's fine. Avalanche, as far as his 64 shutouts for Marc-Andre Fleury, he ties with Henrik Lundqvist for 16th on the career list. 2 of Fleury's 3 shutouts against this season. So he's only had he's had 3 shutouts. 2 of them have been against the Avs, which is kind of crazy. So Avalanche wore their reverse retro sweaters, which I still can't find online. I've been searching for the last 2 weeks to find those freaking jerseys somewhere online. If you know in chat, anybody in chat, where I can find a reverse retro Avalanche Nathan McKinnon jersey in medium size, let me know. I want them.
Medium.
Like a small Smeeze. Hey, Brasley, thanks for thanks for following right now. Appreciate the follow. Thank you for coming in and being a part of the Lab Rats. Love it. Love the support. So, so this game, not a great turnout for the Avs, but again, they got the split.
Yeah, silver lining these first 2 games of the week look bad. They lost 3-0 and 6-2. When I look at the stats, though, they actually outshot. They had more shots on goal in both of those games, so they were right there. The goaltending wasn't quite up to snuff, especially I think they gave up 6 goals on 25 shots against Minnesota. So you can't have that. And granted, maybe those are good scoring opportunities, and it is what it is. But I kind of looked at because the Avs have been fine, but kind of underachieving based off of their preseason standard. And thought that they were the preseason favorite to win the whole thing in the NHL. So they've been fine, but kind of underachieving. But over their last, I believe, 13 games, they've outshot the other team in 11 of those 13. So I think in their first like 5 or 6, they were like 3-3 in those as far as shots on goal. But over their last 13, and granted they're not 11-2, but they are getting more shots on net. They're putting it on there. And that doesn't imply everything. Like I said, there's scoring opportunities, and not all shots are equal for sure. But they seem to be outplaying teams far more often than not. I think they're going to be fine. It's unfortunate with how it's structured this year in the NHL, um, where your division has 4 top teams, and their division, especially at the top, is really strong with Vegas, them, the Blues, who I think won it 2 years ago, or maybe no, they made the Stanley Cup Finals last year,
Mhm.
and then the Minnesota Wild, who we lost to this week, have been playing really well so far this year. So it's super competitive. Fortunately, this week at least, the Avs schedule lightens up a little with San Jose and Anaheim, 2 teams that are towards the bottom of the standings in their division. So, I don't want to make another projection that's wrong, but hopefully that's a 3-1 week
Yeah.
at least. And they can get some points there because they're fine. They're sitting in fourth right now, but some of that's because they played less games due to some postponed games due to COVID and stuff. So they'll be fine. They're going to make the playoffs. In hockey, that's mostly what matters. The unfortunate thing is them and Vegas are two of certain, in my mind, two of the top 3 teams in the league, and only one of them can make the last, the Final Four this year, based off of the structure of the NHL. But it is what it is,
Yep.
and they split 2-2 with Vegas, who's been playing really well, but they won the shooting battle in 3 or 4 of those. So uh, I think ultimately the Avs are a more talented team and will beat them, but long season to go. Injuries can happen in the NHL, and goaltending, especially once you hit the playoffs, matters so much, and your goaltender being hot at the right time. So a lot of hockey to play, but I'm not worried. The Avs are going to be fine. Avs are going to make the playoff.
Yeah. No, and you alluded to the Minnesota loss. They lost to Minnesota on Wednesday. So Nico Strum from Minnesota led the scoring attack, 2 goals in that game. Capo Cajonen was their goaltender. The Sharp making 30 saves. They earned their 4th straight win, so they're just on fire right now, just getting a lot of solid wins under their belt. Those are the first 2 regular season goals of Strum's career, by the way. So Strum was previously his first NHL goal came in the playoffs last August against Vancouver. And then the Avs were 5-0 following a loss. So the loss to the Knights. They were 5-0 at that point, and they ended up dropping this game. As far as the Avalanche, JT Compher and Kadri scored for the Avalanche. Kadri's power play goal was 17 minutes remaining, pulled the Avalanche to 3-2. But it ended an 0-for-19 drought with the man advantage spanning the last 7 games. So we haven't exactly been playing well with that man advantage, unfortunately. But the crazy thing is, so after this game on Wednesday, following this, the Avs don't. It's a little bit tougher now. The Avs don't have more than 1 day between games for the rest of the season. Included in that are 6 back-to-back contests. So this is going to be a nice little stretch to see how they can do, playing consistently. So that could go either really well if they're playing really well and they get in a good momentum, or it could just be really, really exhausting as well. So hopefully, we're able to get a good, shift in, playing a little bit better. Hopefully, when it comes to injuries, we can avoid those because we're not going to have a lot of time to get guys back. So Avs are going to be in a interesting spot moving forward. And we haven't even gotten to these last 2 wins, but yeah. Any thoughts on this game, Scotty?
Well, one, I wasn't ready for the stat you just pulled, but selfishly, I'm excited about that. That means they're playing all the time, which means we can watch or at least pay attention to all the time. No, I mean they took care of Arizona, who they need to. Arizona, there was an interesting article that they're in like really bad financial shape in general as a franchise. So that's not anything we need to dive into. But they, won 3-2 in the first matchup, 6-2, which was a one goal game going to the third, even in that 6-2 game. And then they piled on. It was 2-1 going to the third and really piled on in that third period. But they all played them. They're a much better team than Arizona, and they did what they needed to do, especially after coming off of two losses. Needed to bounce back, and they need to be a little better against the teams um, that they should be. And they took care of Arizona, and hopefully they can do the same against San Jose and Anaheim this week.
Yeah, that first Arizona game, 3-2, that was one of my optimal prime parlays of the week with Hunter Miska joining the team or being part of the goalie uh, uh, crew in that game. He ended up starting and playing. He was cruising to his first NHL victory and a shutout until the final 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden that kind of disappeared. Kadri had a goal and two assists in that game. Avalanche jumped ahead early again. Mikko Rantanen scored from close range, far post, and is his eighth goal of the season. So as far as that goes, he's still doing okay, and I think he can still take it to another level as well. He's proven that in the past. Avalanche added another goal in the third when Kadri slipped his sixth goal of the season past Hill in the bottom left corner of the net. Coyotes. So this is another little tidbit in this game. The Coyotes came into this game becoming just the eighth NHL team to win consecutive games after trailing by at least 3 goals. They nearly pulled it off again in shocking fashion, but waited a little bit too long to get the offense started in this one. So, yeah, the Phoenix Coyotes, they've been comeback kings of late. And then as far as this other game on Saturday, the win 6-2, everyone was part of this scoring, when it came to 6 goals. 4 times in the third period against the Coyotes to sweep the 2-day series. Nathan McKinnon, Donskoy, Jost, just a couple of those goals that they got in there. Grubauer played well, stopping 23 shots, and most of the goals were scored. This was the most goals the Avalanche scored in more than a month. So that was pretty pretty good to see that offense kind of picking it up. So that was fantastic. It might have technically been a road game for Colorado, but it didn't feel that way considering the majority of there was 3,200 fans in attendance, and they all seemed to be wearing Avalanche gear. So that was kind of fun. That was kind of one of those little side notes.
I told you they're in financial hardship out there, so that makes sense. Like they got to rely on the visiting team to take care of ticket sales.
So yes, yeah. So the fact that they finished out the week strong was good. They got San Jose coming up. They got March 1st, so Monday and Wednesday they play San Jose, a little set there, and then they go out to Anaheim, or they're back here actually in Anaheim, or they're home all of them. Sorry, I'm all over the place. They're home
Yep.
for all of them: San Jose and Anaheim, 4-game homestand.
Four
Uh,
games against the two teams at the bottom of the division at home.
so
Let's go 4-0. Let's do it.
I think it's a 4-0 week. We're calling it. It's going to be a 4-0 week.
Yep.
But we need it. We need it big. That'll put us in a good standing by the end of the week, and hopefully we can finish out, again. Just
That way they can join the other undefeated franchise in Colorado right now.
undefeated. The Rockies kicked off spring training baseball today. Undefeated. They are going to do you want to call it now? World Series champions?
Listen, really impressive today. Out hit them 11-4, won 5-2 in their spring training opener. Only played 8 innings. I don't know what happened, but I assume they just called it due to the fact that the Rockies had dominated it so thoroughly. Um, I don't know. It says final after 8. I'm not sure why that happened or what happened there. Maybe they got some weather out in Arizona, but I don't want to speak too soon, but this is my major point here. Everyone wants to talk about this Rockies trade they made this offseason. Some of you may have heard about it. A guy named Nolan Arenado. He was the third baseman for the Rockies. He got moved. He got traded for five players from the St. Louis Cardinals. I would just like to state that Austin Gomber, I'm not even sure I'm saying that last name correctly. Gomber, um, was one of the players in that deal. He started for the Rockies today. He threw 2 innings, which is pretty standard for a starter at this point of spring training. You don't throw more than that. Only gave up 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 1 strikeout over 2 innings. Pretty solid, right? And then we have Nolan Arenado for the winless St. Louis Cardinals. They got dominated today, and Nolan went 0 for 2 with a strikeout. So I don't know if it's too early to say it, but I feel like a
Uh-oh.
certain team that no one expected won the trade there.
Oh, Rockies won this trade. Yeah, everyone is saying this is the worst trade in MLB history, in potentially sports history, and yet look who's coming out on top. Look who's 1-0. Look at that. You would have.
I don't think it's too soon to say that the Rockies won this trade.
It's not even a question. They absolutely killed it on this trade. So
Yeah.
we'll take it. We'll take it. Got a big win against Arizona today. They got a big week. They play a ton. It doesn't even feel like spring training though. Does it? Like it feels like it's so weird. I didn't even know spring training was like creeping up, and then this week I was like, oh man, the Rockies are playing their first game, and I was like, man. Like I usually like to, we typically have gone to Arizona the last couple of years and caught a couple of spring training games, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't seem like we're ready for that yet. And I don't know, but hey, we got baseball back. It's coming, coming quick, and the Rockies have a big slate ahead of them this week. They play pretty much, I mean, they play most of the week. Monday with LA, then they got Oakland, Seattle, Milwaukee, the Angels, and the White Sox. So they just, between now and Sunday, they have a lot of games under their belt that are going to be coming down the pipeline, and it's going to be nice to see, just see how like some of these new guys are going to be kind of slotting in, and what the roster is going to be. I mean, obviously, it's still like trying to figure out who's going to be where, and uh, you know, getting some reps in, but hey. Baseball's coming back. The Rockies also this week got approved for fans in the stands. Scotty, you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. The city announced in a surprising nature to some organizations that they were approved. The Rockies were approved for 12,500
Yep.
on opening day, April 1st, which is 25% capacity. Uh, so that'll be the minimum there on opening day is 12.5. We have actually we open up the Rockies do with the World Series champions at home, the Los Angeles Dodgers, for a 4 game set to start the year. So I don't think there's any issue with having 12,500 fans. I mean, even if Rockies fans are upset, this is going to hurt Rockies fans. They don't want to hear this, but like there's 12,500 Dodger fans that would come to all those games, unfortunately. So we don't want that. Let's get Rockies fans there. Um, but there's a ton of Dodger fans, not only locally, but people that are going to travel because who knows if LA is going to even be having fans. Obviously, California is a whole different animal. They've been quite a bit conservative and not opening up with this whole COVID stuff. So I could see LA not opening up with fans. I know from a Rockies vantage point, they're excited to get fans back. Obviously, last year nobody had in MLB had fans in the regular season, so getting fans back in and I know the Rockies are hoping to eventually get to full capacity as we get into these further summer months and more people get vaccinated, and hopefully this whole thing dies down to where they can get back to full capacity. And I think that's their goal and that's their hope, and we'll see what happens. But it'll be nice to have people back in Coors Field, even at a limited capacity, watching baseball. That I mean, what feels more real and more natural than summer going out, like going to a baseball game at night, getting a hot dog, having a beer, watching some baseball, and relaxing? Like what's more like that's just the quintessential like, hey, we're getting back to normal. Like that's got to feel good because people couldn't do it last year. So you can say what you will about being upset with the Rockies and the ownership and their deals and the franchise, but ultimately, um, just going to a ball game is what people need and people I think want. Um, so it's exciting that they got approved for at least a limited capacity, and we'll see where it goes from there. And hopefully get back to where we're having for at least some games 50,000 people at Coors Field watching baseball.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to potentially get back some fans, even if it ends up getting to be more. I don't know. Do you think there are going to be more later on in the season that could potentially be available to jump in? Is this just initially, or is this going to be something that could extend to larger crowds as the season progresses?
I think it's from a Rockies vantage point, certainly just initially, and they absolutely envision as we go on and things continue to progress that we will continue to increase. And um, it's kind of funny once you get to like 50% though. There's no reason to jump from like 50 to 75. It just doesn't make sense. If you're going from 50, you're jumping to 100 because at 50 to 75 you're violating half the people are violating their whatever social distancing if that's what you're having to adhere to with that 6 feet or whatever. So it doesn't make sense to jump little by little. Once you get to close to 50 or even a little under 50, um, after that it just makes sense to move to 100. And like I said, I think from what I've heard with the Rockies and what I've actually heard through Broncos and what they put out there is they expect full capacity at their home games next year. So I don't think it's crazy or unrealistic to think, if you would have asked me in December where things were a little crazy, I'd be like, I don't know. But now as we head to March tomorrow, it looks a lot better. So I I think as and now uh, not to get into the weeds, but Johnson and Johnson just got approved for their vaccination, which is unlike these other ones. It's just one shot. You don't need to go back for a second, so that can quicken the process as we add another layer to this, another opportunity, and another vaccine, but one that you only need to get one of. So with all these out there, that should quicken the process to get people vaccinated and hopefully kill out this nasty virus that has swept across the world over the past year.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be huge for everybody, especially in Colorado. If there's a lot of, well, there's baseball stadiums around the country that, are trying to get back. And baseball it's just one of those games where you just go, you take in, again, you get a hot dog, a beer, you relax, you're out with friends, you're going downtown after the game, before the game, whatever it is. And it's just experience. And, especially in Colorado, there's a lot of just the outdoors and just being at the venue is that's kind of one of the things that's always been one of the, like, regardless of how bad or how good the Rockies are, their attendance has always been absolutely incredible, because of just where we live and how many people like to go to the games. And so just having that in Lodo again, lower downtown is what we call that little area of where the Coors Field sits. There's bars and restaurants, and it's just a whole experience. I mean, Wrigley Field has their little, area out there, and it's kind of similar. It's like you just have this place where you can just go and just have a good time, and hopefully we can get back to that.
Well, and,
Um,
and next door, they actually have been in the process over the last couple of years building right next door. This multi-use couple buildings. There's a condo, hotel, and an office space, but it also has restaurants and different things. And there's a middle area. It's called McGregor Square after Kelly McGregor, a former president of the Colorado Rockies, who died very unexpectedly. Close to now. I feel like it's probably close to 10 years ago. Um, and it's named after him. It's a super sweet spot. They have a huge giant screen in the middle of this public area that's in the middle, which is kind of this round out area. So you can, even if you're not going to a Rockies game, this is a new area you could venture to, watch the game on that big screen, be out with a beer in hand in this, public area outdoors, um, or be inside at these bars. And it's should be a super cool area that hasn't quite opened up, but by opening day, I think April 1st, it'll be open and ready to go.
Baseball is among us, people. Let's summertime is coming. Hey, let's have some fun with it, right? And then
Yeah.
before we wrap up here on our Mile High Roundup, we have the Broncos to talk about, and there is some news in the Broncos organization. NFL.com, around the NFL writer Dan Hanzus has recently listed the Broncos as one of the last 5 candidates to appear on this season's iteration of HBO's Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Well, somewhat process of elimination, and I don't think he'll be there. But process of elimination is like once you've been on it, you're eliminated. And there's other teams. There's certain standards, and I don't know off the top of my head.
There's 3 criteria.
Yeah, you got them. List them.
One, you can't have a first season head coach, so that's obviously something we don't need to worry about. Vic Fangio's been here for a minute.
Nope. Until next year.
Until next year. Number 2 criteria: no playoff berths in the last 2 seasons. And number 3, has not appeared in the show in the last decade. So they join the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, the Carolina Panthers, the Arizona Cardinals to qualify. So, of those teams and the Broncos, those are the teams that are left from, according to this NFL writer, that are available for the Hard Knocks show on HBO. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty interesting to get like the behind the scenes of all the cuts and all the different things that go on in an NFL training camp. I like all the mic'd up players and all the everything, but
the only way Denver gets Hard Knocks is if they, prior to them announcing the team, Denver somehow trades for Deshaun Watson. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
Oh, if they trade for Deshaun Watson somehow, which I don't think is going to happen, if they trade for Deshaun Watson, they launch to number 1 on this list of potential teams to be on this show, and I don't think it's close. Dallas Cowboys, I think, are pretty much there. Dallas Cowboys, it's hard to not put them in there with Dak and all the situation. Everyone's wondering about that and what that's going to look like. The Giants and the Panthers could be there because they're looking for Dak. I mean, they're looking for Deshaun. So they are an option. And then the Cardinals, they're a nice young team that's coming up and coming. They're an exciting team. So I think they could any of these teams. I think the Giants would be the most boring of these. No one really knows.
I agree.
Like no one really cares about what the Giants are doing, and no one really knows. I mean, outside of Saquon Barkley, which they don't really highlight the star players all the time in these. Like they once in a while they'll throw like little flashes of some of the elite athletes, but for the most part, it's like looking at the rookies and some of the guys coming in free agents and some of their experiences. So I hope it's not the Giants. I would still watch any of these, but I think Dallas, in particular order, Dallas would be number 1 that I would want to watch. I think Arizona would be number 2 because just of what they're doing and like the division they're in. They have a lot to compete for.
Cliff Kingsbury in a pool setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very popular with
he's your man crush practically, right? I mean, you're all about some Cliff Kingsbury.
I don't know if you remember from last year's draft, there was a like famous shot of him in his house in Arizona during the draft, and it's just ridiculous. First of all, the house is ridiculous, his setting's ridiculous, and it's just like he's just chilling back, and like it's absurd. Carolina could be interesting because Carolina seems to be all in on changing quarterbacks.
Yep.
They are doing everything to make sure that Teddy Bridgewater is not their quarterback next year. So depending on what happens there, they've been obviously rumored to be all in on Deshaun Watson. From all accounts, pushed really hard to get Stafford, lost out, which a lot of people feel like they actually offered the best deal. And Detroit didn't take that one, which is debatable on what the best deal is, and ultimately it's your team's choice. But they seem to be a team that could have a new quarterback, certainly as well, which would make them a lot more interesting
Yep.
as an option. But I agree, the Giants are the team that like outside of that New York market, there's no reason to pick that Giants team because they don't have a lot of like outside of like Saquon maybe coming back from injury could be interesting. Obviously, he tore his ACL. I assume he'd be back for training camp. Outside of that, like Saquon's storyline, like there's not a lot else there.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Broncos in the mix. I don't think they're going to get it necessarily. I think, obviously HBO wants eyeballs. Dallas Cowboys are one of those teams that get eyeballs. So I think they're the front runner. If I was a betting man, which I am, I would say it's going to be Dallas that's going to end up getting Hard Knocks. I mean, Jerry Jones can get Hard Knocks just like, him by himself, just what Jerry brings to this. Everyone wants to watch Jerry Jones on HBO Hard Knocks just by himself. So there's just a lot of storylines there. Big team. You can't avoid it. So, but again, I hope the Broncos get it because if they do, that means we got Deshaun Watson. So that's the only way. Plus, by the way, teams that have been on Hard Knocks haven't exactly done very well from recent memory. They obviously, part of the credentials here is no playoff berth in the last 2 seasons, so you're not dealing with great teams. But teams that have been on Hard Knocks haven't exactly performed after being on Hard Knocks very well. So that's another thing that I'm kind of hesitant with the Broncos getting on there. So who knows? But just a little fun little there. It's been a little slow because we're still trying to figure out like NFL cuts, like Broncos cuts, and kind of just draft, and trade, different ideas that could be happening, speculation. So there hasn't really been a lot of movement or storylines in the NFL pertaining to the Broncos specifically, just a lot of rumors. So just a little tidbit there on Hard Knocks, which could be a fun little thing. So let's jump in though, Scotty. We have one more quick segment that we want to get to. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about. We're getting to our viewers' choice, and there's a couple topics here that I'm excited about. One of which involves my boys and involves your boys, and that is a big upset that happened this week in NCAA basketball. Your Kansas Jayhawks, Rock Chalk, ended up taking down number 2 Baylor, which, I going into that game, I was kind of keeping my eye on because, obviously you have a couple ranked teams that are playing against each other. But if you can tell, I have a little GU Gonzaga affiliation. My wife went to GU. She's a Gonzaga graduate. So obviously she's converted me to being a Gonzaga fan, and they're number 1 team in the country. Now, they have been the number 1 team in the country. Ryman Saros, woo, let's go. You excited about this? Let's go. The Gonzaga Bulldogs have been kind of in question with the Baylor Bears in the sense that these two teams were supposed to play early on in the season, and the game got rescheduled because of COVID. So with that being said, we weren't able to get in, and oh, look at that, Michael, also a GU alum. Let's go. So let's go GU. So they're gonna win
everywhere.
It. We have a lot of GU alum in our friends group, and so it's good to see all of the Bulldogs out there, representing. So this win was big for the Gonzaga Bulldogs in the sense that since they weren't able to play that game, they've been kind of locked in at 1-2, Baylor and Gonzaga, all season long, with speculation of how would these teams have played each other if they would have actually played that game early on in the season. And the Baylor ended up coming out and laying an egg against KU, your boys, Scotty.
So this is gonna sound like so Kansas was a 5-point dog in this game, and I loved Kansas. I bet on Kansas. Love Kansas. And everyone's going to be like, well, you're just a homer. No, this has been a miserable season, first of all, to watch. And two, that's the only game so far this year I've bet on Kansas. Um, Baylor, if you guys don't know, was hit hard with COVID stuff. And then everything that happened with Texas with their cold front and everything shutting down essentially. So they had like, I'll have to check now. They played, they basically had several weeks off. And they had one game prior to this. They played Iowa State earlier in the week, and they won by 5. Which you're like, oh, great, they beat Iowa State. No, Iowa State's actually 0-14 in Big 12 conference games. So not a great team this year. They're 2-17 overall, 0-14 in conference play. Baylor at home against Iowa State won by 5 earlier this week. So I'm like, I'm not even sure Kansas is good. I'm pretty sure they're not that good, especially offensively. But them plus 5 against a team that's rusty and not nearly looking like the same that they were prior to all of this, I love Kansas. They won by 13. They won kind of easily. Um, we'll see if Baylor can figure it out and get back to where they were prior to this long break they had. It seems to have given them quite a bit of problems, and they don't have a ton of games now to figure it out before we're already in March Madness. I think we're 2 weeks away from Selection Sunday, so we'll be diving into that probably in 2 weeks, especially. We'll be on probably after the brackets get released, so we'll dive into that. That'll be a super fun show to cover. Gonzaga now moves to, which I think they were the number one, but the clear number one.
Yep.
Michigan. Michigan's 18-1 in a Big Ten conference that's been really, really strong and top heavy this year. There's a lot of good teams. And I haven't seen them a ton, so I can't speak to them fully, but I know Jay Billis came on a few days ago and basically said if I had to pick one team, and I trust Jay. I think Jay is a great analysis.
Yep.
Great voice of college basketball. Unlike some that are maybe a little outdated or not as knowledgeable. Jay does his homework, and he took Michigan. He said I would if I had to take one team that I think would win it all over. He took Michigan for some reason. And like I said, I haven't seen Michigan a lot. I just look at their record. Gonzaga's playing, balling out. I think their last couple of games they kind of flirted a little too long. I just think they're getting bored a little bit in the West Coast Conference, and they're like, eventually winning by double digits, but hanging on to some bad teams for a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see. I'll have to see what Michigan can do. I should watch them a little bit because I haven't really watched them at all. I know they beat up on Iowa, which was a team that Gonzaga played earlier in the year as well and beat up on as well. So those teams right now seem to be clearly the top two now that Baylor had this break and doesn't seem like the same team prior to this break. So we'll see. Gonzaga's going to have what I feel like is likely that undefeated record going into March Madness, which puts a lot of, in my mind, it puts a lot of pressure on them, though. That's hard to have an undefeated season, even in these times where maybe you're not playing as many games. But
yeah,
that's tough.
I think the biggest thing for Gonzaga and what my worry is every single tournament is in the back of my head is we haven't played anybody in months. So the fact that all of a sudden you're starting to play some good teams that you're not used to playing against, you play early. Like I would rather, if you were to ask me, I would love for more of the ranked games to come towards the end of the season as opposed to the beginning of the season. Because I'd rather end on the note where you're even if you lose one of those games, you are still saying, okay, maybe we have some things to work on. Maybe we have some things we need to tweak. Because if you're saying, I would 100% flip their schedule and have those games at the end, which is obviously not something that they can do. But as far as this goes, it's great to see that Gonzaga is up there and being that number one overall seed. I think Michigan's an interesting one. We have a lot of family in that are Michigan powerhouse fans. Like they love Michigan, so it's going to be interesting within our own family between all the Gonzaga crew and all the Michigan fans. There's going to be a lot of shit talking on all that stuff, which will be fun. But yeah, Michigan, I need to watch more of them as well. I've been watching a lot more college basketball over the course of the last 3 weeks, just to try to get an idea. And it's definitely interesting to see some of these teams and, whether or not they pass the eyeball test for me. But I do need to get some more Michigan and some Big Ten basketball under my belt in the next week or so. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. That was a big one. So, big ups to your boys, Kansas, for knocking off Baylor.
You're welcome.
You're
You're welcome.
I was actually, and I told you this, I was going to actually text you before the game and let you know, like, hey, I'm rooting for your boys. I'm a big KU fan this game, and I didn't. But then after I saw the outcome of the game, I was like, man, I should have texted him early on because I knew there was a chance that there could have been an upset there. So that was awesome.
Yeah, no, that was fun.
So
Hopefully Kansas can make a run, but I'm not overly confident. Past if they make it past the Sweet 16, I'd be pleasantly surprised.
I'm not gonna lie, a win like that over a number 2 team instills a lot of confidence in a team, right? If you can beat the number 2 team, you could beat a lot of teams, and I think that's going to change the mindset in KU. I think they're going to just say, "Hey, we can compete with anybody," and they're going to ball out. I think that's what if I were to predict what they were going to do the rest of the season. Watch out for KU getting hot at the right time. That team can be dangerous going into the tournament.
Yeah, they are like 6-1, I think, over their last 7 or something. So they've been playing better. And the one they lost, they had no business losing. And I don't need to get in that game against Texas, but they're playing well at the right time. Now that was their last Big 12 game. I haven't even heard for sure if they're doing the conference tournament. They added a game, so they're playing like UTEP randomly. Like Kansas added that to the schedule just to get another game in, which they announced like earlier this week. But maybe other teams are doing a lot of that too because I don't know. Kansas to me, still a very good defensive team, which they kind of always are under Bill Self, but offensively, it's a struggle if they're not hitting from the outside, and they're not hitting from the outside far too often, and they're just stupid with the ball. Way too many turnovers. Ken Palm has them ranked, I think, 50th in offensive efficiency, but they're top 10 in defense. So, which I think is a better way to move forward in the tournament is defense is more consistent. Like you can always have a good defensive game if you're good at it. Offense is sometimes a little more streaky. So,
yep,
we'll see if they can make a run.
Yeah. So we'll see. We're going to, again, have a big special on Selection Sunday. We're going to break down all the brackets. We're going to go through all the different regions and make sure that we're breaking down all the matchups to see who's going to go, how far. It's going to be a lot of fun. So tune in on that Selection Sunday. We have some big stuff coming down the line. Between that, the NFL draft. This is the best time of the year coming up here, Scotty. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It's a fun time for sure. I'm a huge draft nerd, like we talked about. Everyone loves March Madness, I would assume. If you're a sports fan, you love the excitement of the unknown and all these teams and just a full days scheduled with basketball. So,
yep.
Yeah, it'll be a fun time. And we got the Masters right after that. I know you're not huge into golf, but man, I love early April with the Masters, so I'll be excited for that.
Yeah, no, that's going to be great. And then one other quick topic we want to just cover before we finished up a couple of announcements before we wrap up the stream is we had some news with Russell Wilson, which was kind of weird. We saw Russell Wilson come out this week. We saw some rumors saying Russell Wilson wasn't going to be traded necessarily, but if he was gonna get traded, it would be to these teams. It was weird. I saw another tweet. I can't remember who tweeted it, but it was like a random tweet where someone was like, "I'm not gonna cheat on my wife, but if I could cheat on my wife, it would be with this girl, this girl, this girl, or this girl." And it's like, that's the weirdest thing to say. Is like, I'm not gonna leave. I don't plan on getting. I don't want to go anywhere. But if I did go somewhere, these are where I would want to play. Like, what? It's so weird.
Well, and this was I'm pretty sure this wasn't even a rumor. It was his agent who said this. It was Russell Wilson's agent, which maybe they're just playing the game of like leverage, and ultimately he could easily just be with Seattle next year. But they listed four super random teams, in my opinion. Like the four teams he listed as teams he would want to go to is Dallas,
Yep.
Chicago, Las Vegas, and now I'm drawing a blank on the other one. Uh,
I'm trying to think of what it was too.
New Orleans,
New
the
Orleans.
Saints.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, the Saints are already out because they're about 800 million over the cap as they speak. They can't afford Russell. Like you can manipulate the cap a lot and do some things, but New Orleans cannot afford Russell Wilson. Um, the Bears is weird. Like
Don't go to
I
the
don't know if
Bears.
they're loaded on offense where he just should be like the to me the Cowboys make a ton of sense in the sense like why don't we do this? Why don't we? The reason franchise quarterbacks never get traded is because you don't want to give up on a franchise quarterback unless you know, hey, I'm getting a franchise quarterback in return. So what if I'm just saying it makes a lot of sense to me and Seattle get together and like, all right, I'll send you Dak, you send us Russell, and I'm not saying that's the only part of the deal. Like I think Dallas would probably have to throw in a little more extra. I don't think it would be straight up um, based off Russell. First of all, establishing a little more of his career, and two, Dak coming off that injury. But I mean, that makes a ton of sense to me. And we have some Cowboy fans that probably I know they love Dak, so they probably wouldn't be happy with that. But if I'm taking who I think is the better quarterback of the two, I think Russell Wilson's a better quarterback. So I think Dallas should be excited with that. Um, and if Russell's not happy, I think Seattle should be really happy to get Dak in return. Like that's a really solid option. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's a touchy situation in Dallas, right? Because Dak is kind of that guy that we've been like trying to figure out what's the deal. He's been franchised, he's been kind of toyed with in Dallas. He got hurt, and all of a sudden it's like put on hold again, and it's like you're not rewarding the guy, and it's sensitive. I think Dallas is of those choices probably that's what makes the most sense, uh, by any means. So I just I think that when it comes to his agent saying some of these things, I think it's just so weird to me that he'll just say, we're not trying to go anywhere, but if we did, it's like, all right, now we're just playing some games. It's strange. So a Dallas would be that. And I think Dallas is one of those teams that is willing. Jerry Jones can make a lot of different decisions, and he can make a splash here and there if he likes somebody enough. And so I just think he owes it to Dak to bring him back and to sign him long term. And Dak, I think, is a great quarterback to move forward with. Like, you can't really, you know, based off of what he's done early on before he got injured, like, man, I think you got to take care of your guy. You have to. So that's just my opinion on it.
Like I don't think this is going to happen. And I'll throw out one other thing. And let's say in a crazy alternate reality, Wilson listed Las Vegas as one of his teams. So let's say somehow Russell Wilson ends up in Las Vegas, and let's say somehow Deshaun Watson ends up in Denver. You have an AFC West
Whew.
division that has Patrick Mahomes,
Woo.
Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, and Justin Herbert.
That would be insane.
That is the greatest quarterback division in the history of football. Like that does not happen. Like I don't even know how you rank those guys. Like, well, I think I do know how I would rank them, but any of those, like those are all of those guys are probably looked at as top 10 guys next year. I would think Justin Herbert being the only question mark, only because he's only been in the league for a year. Otherwise, the other three are certainly top 10, if not borderline top five. Um,
That
I
would,
don't think that'll happen. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't think those guys want to compete in that at that level. Like, I'd rather go the Tom Brady route in New England, where it's like I have a free buy every year because my division stinks, and like, but that would be super interesting. I don't want to, as a Chiefs fan, I don't want to see that. Even though I think we still have the best one of those four quarterbacks, those other three are really, really good. So that would be crazy
yeah,
if that somehow happened.
yeah, 100%. That would be an incredible division. Man, you want to talk about some storylines? There would be some crazy storylines to come out of that. So maybe you're right. Maybe this might happen. Maybe some crazy things will take place here in the next, and it'll be awesome because it gives us more to even talk about on
Oh
top
yeah.
of all the fun things that we have going anyway. But I want to give a quick shout out though to all of our viewers. So we've been, we obviously have tracking on the back of end of our Streamlabs, and we had, a lot of good participation today. But thanks you for Brasley for following. But thank you for all the participation. Took my VC with all the TopShot talk. Ryman popping in and talking some college hoops with us. It's been awesome to see all the guys all of you guys jumping in. But we have on the back end just some people who are always popping in and taking note of what we have going on. PD Nix, P Nix. We have Ann Romero, Lemon Juices, 12. Commander Root, thanks for popping in and just watching and spending all this time checking us out. Aiton, Go With Him, Misapplying, MXB, all of you guys. You guys are what make this show so much fun to see you guys pop in. If you guys aren't following, make sure you're hitting that follow button on Twitch. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, make sure you're getting in and following our Facebook page that we're going to be going live with as well. If Twitch isn't your speed, make sure you're following us on Facebook or YouTube, or vice versa. Make sure that you're getting to us on any of those platforms because we are multi-streaming here on out. We'll get some of the glitches out of the way here soon, but I wanted to give a shout out to all you viewers out there and all of you guys following that. You guys are incredible, and we couldn't have as much fun as we do doing this without you guys. So thank you so much. But we are hitting the end of our show, Scotty.
Yep.
What do you want to chime in?
No, I couldn't have said it better. Appreciate everyone that's hung in there with us. We're new to this. It's still only been 2.5 months now that we've been doing this. We're learning on the job. We enjoy it. We hope you guys enjoy it. We appreciate you guys following us. We love people entering the chat and getting involved in that. That helps us, drive content and be able to talk with you guys. That's all we want to do is just have a discussion about sports, right? So we appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll be back here Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday is going to be our next show. We got we're going to talk a bunch of topics on the national level, trying to get more of what's happening across the NFL, NBA, NHL, everything, college basketball. We're going to watch some more Michigan and see if they're for real. Ryman hitting us with some emotes, loving it. Thank you for being with us. You're always, chiming in, and we love it. So follow us on all of our channels here, and we are still growing. So make sure that, if you want to hit us with some memes for Friday, I'm always looking for the best memes. So make sure you're sharing those on our different channels, whether that's Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Hit us with those memes so I can share the best ones on Friday. And then as far as Wednesday goes, we are going to be hitting you with so much more content. So thank you so much. Thank you for spending your Sunday with us. Again, it means a lot. We hope you have a fantastic start and, first part of your week ahead of you. All your work and everything else. I know it's not fun to get into a Monday, but hey, you know what? We're here to save you and get you through on hump day. So hit us up on Wednesday. We'll be live, right, Scotty?
I was just about to say we'll see you on hump day, but then I was going to question whether that's still a thing. I know after that whole like commercial of Hump Day, it might have left, but I'm still here for Hump Day. So
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, we're
yeah.
gonna be going. So, yeah. So we will see you all then. Have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you guys soon. Thank you guys. Love you guys. See you Wednesday.
See you guys.